Hi, everybody. I am not going to be long. You guys know I take my little break in the middle of the day. Well, morning, mid morning. I take my break. So I am not going to wait for anybody because most people are working. And although I have the luxury of working from home, I do have myself on a schedule so I can keep myself abreast and organized and things of that nature. So I took a minute to kind of step away, but I just posted something that I wanted to just kind of elaborate on because I don't want y'all to think every time I post something I'm throwing shade. I really don't be throwing shade. It really just be I have a question. And so I wanted to kind of elaborate on my question and also to get some conversation going and to get some feedback. I want to say thank you to the one person who has posted so far on the post that I'm talking about. If you're here, just let me know you're here. Hi. But I asked a question, and the question I asked, and I have it on my phone because I didn't want to mess up the question I asked, is do we have any church leaders who are called to run for office? I'm saying that because, of course, today is the day after Election Day. Um, you guys know I watch the news all the time. I am into politics and all this other stuff. And of course, now I know why, because of where God has called and assigned me. So I'm not just a nerd, because, all my life I've been called a nerd because I read books and do all that extra stuff. But now I know why. I do those things. But the question I ask is, do we have any church leaders who are called to run for office? And I stated, there are so many starting churches and organizations. So I'm just wondering if any of them are actually called to the marketplace. Like, do we have any church leaders who are actually called to the city council, called to Senate, called to Congress, called to the school boards? I'm asking this question because as we look at the marketplace, because again, I I'm going to deal with this eventually with my mentor. We haven't even really had a conversation about it. We kind of had a post about it, but we're going to deal with this later because a lot of people are calling marketplace ministry something that it's not. And so that's why I asked the question, are there any church leaders? Hi, Julius. Hi, Kim. If there are any church leaders who are actually called to these places where power and authority is given to people who have rule over us. So I wanted to know if there are any church leaders out there. I would love to have a conversation with you actually who are called to these places of power and authority. The city council, the school board, the Senate, the Congress, because again, we do a lot of talking about all this power and authority we have, and I find it really strange that we have all this power and authority to build churches and to create organizations. I'm just wondering if we have that same power and authority to actually go into the systems that were already created to dismantle them. So that's my question. Are there any church leaders where God has called you to dismantle some things? And that means that you have to sit at the table with people who don't believe what you believe and be a light and speak what God speaks. Just curious about that because when we talk about, and I know marketplace ministry has been the big thing since the pandemic. It was a thing before that, but I mean, it became popular during the pandemic. However, thank you. Hi, sis. The mayor of my town is a senior pastor. Thank you. So, those are the questions I'm asking because we need, and I'm saying leaders, I'm saying church leaders, but I don't just mean pastors. I don't just mean evangelists. I mean, we're all called to be leaders. We're all called to be disciples. So I'm just curious though, if there's some senior leaders, people who have the grace. God has graced them with vision. God has graced them with strategy, because it takes vision and it takes strategy to build a church. It takes vision, it takes strategy to build an organization. Has God equipped some of those people to do some of the things that need to happen in the marketplace? Hi, overseer Perez, how are you today? So I'm just curious about that because I think that we are very weighty And what I mean by weighty, I don't mean spiritually weighty on one side of the coin, but we're really missing an opportunity to really affect change where it's needed most. Can you imagine if we had a Holy Ghost filled school board in every city? I mean, Holy Ghost filled, fire baptized school board in every city. Then a lot of these issues that we're talking about with our children, we can actually do something about it. And again, everyone doesn't have the luxury to homeschool. Everyone doesn't have the luxury to build a new school because yes, I do believe that people who have the grace and people who have the know-how can build a school and start their own school. But we can't keep building things because we don't want to deal with what's here. Let me say that again. We can't keep building things but don't want to deal with what's here. There are still souls in the public school system. There are still souls in these cities and communities where the city governs our communities. And so I'm just asking the question one, because some of you may have been thinking about it. Like, okay, I know I'm called. I know I'm called. I know I'm chosen, but this isn't kind of really what I want to do. Because a lot of you who are doing outreach and who are doing even community ministry may be called to the city council, maybe called to a grander scale of what you're doing. And that's why you have such a passion and a love for it. And so a lot of times we stop at what we know, we stop at tradition, that this is what we do, this is what we always did, so this is what we know. And so I just wanted to ask that question because I'm really curious, really, really, really curious of who from the church with power and authority are in these seats, who are spending time making sure that God's agenda is being at the forefront of the places that creates laws, who creates policies, who creates procedures for our communities. Because no matter how you slice it or dice it, the word says that we live in this world, but we're not of this world. But while we're living here, we have to follow the rules and regulations of this world. That means you wear a seatbelt when you drive. That means you stop at a red light. So with those things, people place those laws in place. People put those laws in place. So why not we work and strive to be the people that do that? And so I just had a question. So I am going because my break is almost over, but I love you all. Thank you for those who have posted so far. But I'm really curious about that because if everybody is now called to marketplace ministry, where are the people who have power and authority to get things done? Love you all. And I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.